The man you call lucky is the same man who bled when no one watched. While you scrolled, he trained. While you slept, he conquered. And now, you call it unfair? No, it's the price you pay for thinking average was safe.
Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and instantly command respect without saying a single word? It's not luck, it's not charm, it's discipline. A kind of discipline so deep, so solid, that it speaks louder than anything they could say.
The biggest problem in this world is other people, not yourself. It's other people in your head. They are puppet mastering you pretty much on your life. We live by the narrative of other people.
There's one thing that's guaranteed in life, and that's death. And the thing you guys got to understand is that on your tombstone, it's going to have your birthday followed by your death day. And what you're defined by is a dash in between. What did you do during that fucking dash? Right. And I don't think enough guys take that seriously. During that dash, did you create a legacy or did you embarrass the legacy?
We as men are the problem until we become strong enough as a unit to lead correctly. It's the feminization of men that I really worry about. And I believe that if we can help make just a few more guys stronger via tough love, the truth, encouragement, and education, then we can help men be better as a whole. And for that reason, not only men will be happier, but women will be happier as well.
For sure.
It is men's fault. And so if we have to jump on a couple of swords in order to toughen up some guys, and that's another thing too, I don't even blame the men, really, until you have consciousness on a subject and choose not to do anything about it. You're not a pussy, bro. Wait, I can take charge of this. I can speak with conviction. I can be a hero to my wife and my children and like really turn up and really know what it is to be a man. Until you understand what that means, I don't think you're a pussy. I think you have a lack of information.
Most of you have been lied to since birth. Lied to by your teachers, your parents, your friends, even your government. They told you to be nice, to follow the rules, to stay safe. They told you if you go to school, get good grades, get a job, you'll be happy. That's the first layer of the matrix. It's not built to make you rich, it's built to make you obedient. It's not education, it's programming. They don't train you to be strong, they train you to be compliant. And you fell for it. You sleepwalk through life, proud of your chains because they gave you a diploma. You wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone. You check Instagram, you scroll TikTok, you read messages that don't matter from people who don't matter about problems that don't matter. You look for something to stimulate you because your life has no mission. You drag yourself out of bed like a wounded animal, not because you're exhausted from building an empire, but because your soul is tired of being useless. You hate Mondays, worship weekends, and cry when holidays end. You're not living, you're surviving in slow motion. That's the slave mindset, the mental poison that convinces you that comfort is safety, that struggle is bad, that dreaming is risky. You want soft beds, air conditioning, and entertainment, but you don't want responsibility, pressure, or consequence. And that's why you lose. Because you don't want to carry weight, you want to be carried. You want handouts, you want sympathy, you want someone to come fix your life for you. Because deep down, you don't even trust yourself to do it. That's the virus they injected into you. And every time you hit snooze, every time you say maybe tomorrow, every time you settle, the virus wins.
You can feel it in their presence. You can see it in their eyes. There's a power inside them that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to impress. It just exists, and it demands attention. But here's the truth most people don't realize. That kind of presence doesn't happen overnight. It's built, brick by brick, choice by choice, through quiet battles that nobody else sees. The way you wake up in the morning, the way you handle stress, the way you push through when no one is watching. That's where discipline is formed. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to beg for attention. When your mind is trained, when it's locked in with focus and self-control, you naturally gain respect. Not because you ask for it, but because you've become the kind of person others can't ignore. Most people never get there. They live in a cycle of excuses and distractions. They want results, but they don't want the struggle. They want recognition, but they won't put in the work when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one claps for them. And that's exactly where the disciplined mind is different. It doesn't care about noise. It doesn't need applause. It finds strength in silence, power in patience, and direction in discomfort. This is the difference between someone who only talks and someone who becomes undeniable. Imagine this. Every single day, life throws chaos at you. Distractions, negativity, temptations, comfort. And yet, through all of that, you stay grounded, focused, calm. That's discipline. And that's the kind of mental strength that changes everything. Not just how you live, but how the world sees you. Because people feel energy. They see consistency. They recognize strength. Not the loud, flashy kind, but the quiet, steady kind. The kind that shows up every day. The kind that stays true when no one's around. That's what makes people stop and notice. That's what earns real respect. Not the kind that fades when you're not around, but the kind that follows you, that sticks, that becomes part of your name. Discipline is not a punishment, it's a pathway, it's the road to freedom. When your mind is disciplined, you're no longer a slave to your emotions. You're no longer controlled by what's easy or what feels good right now. You become someone who chooses what's right over what's comfortable, someone who thinks long term, someone who lives with purpose. You don't get there by accident. You build it, and the reward, you become unstoppable. You walk into rooms differently. You face problems differently. You attract opportunities, not by chasing them, but by becoming ready for them.
When I first called a recruiter to be a Navy SEAL and I was 297 pounds, the first recruiter looked at me and said, "You're not gonna be able to make this, man." So what he was doing was he's projecting his energy on me. He knew he couldn't be a Navy SEAL. So God helped this black guy, because I was only the 36th African American to make it through in over 70 years. How's this black fat guy gonna make it through in my ass? He wouldn't even want to try. So he's projecting it. So a lot of us who are negative people, all we do is project how we feel on other people. A lot of times I'll be in a 200-mile run or something like that, and I'm all jacked up. Body's broken, mind's broken, spirit's broken. I started to say, what if I can pull this off? When I first walked into the Navy SEAL recruiter's office, he looked at me and said, there's only been 35 African Americans in 70 years make it through. You know what I said to myself? What if I can be the 36th? It's the what if I can pull off a fucking miracle. What if I can become someone that no one thinks I can be? And just me talking about that, I have the hair going up on my arms because it makes me just like, what if? I had to invent a guy that didn't exist. I had to invent a guy that can take any pain, any suffering, any kind of judgment, be called whatever the in the world, and be able to stand in the room and say, go yourself. I had to build this callous mind, and I built it through suffering. So when you have a messed up foundation, I started lying about everything. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be accepted in some society of life. I was like, man, this isn't the right way. I messed up here, I messed up here, I messed up everywhere. And so I realized the worst thing that happened to me is I lost myself. I never had myself. I never found myself. I had no self-esteem. So I knew through working out and through learning, because it took a lot for me to learn also, I started finding self-esteem. Once I found that, that's when doors started opening up. I stopped caring about people, that what they thought, being judged. Wow, if I say this, if I started right now, are you gonna make fun of me? I stopped caring about that. And that's when my life started really changing for me, slowly but surely. I don't think enough about people that have wronged me, or situations that have wronged me. Because once you've come to a place where you are really happy with who you are in life, no one f***s with you anymore. Even though they're f***ing with you,
it doesn't
f*** with you. What do you want in your life? We have so much influence coming at us that we are so lost. We don't know what we want to do because we don't spend enough time with ourselves. You have to learn to shut off a phone, shut off a computer, shut off a TV. And it's okay to sit in a room by yourself in a chair and just think about you, where I want to be, where do I see myself tomorrow, the next year from that. It takes a lot of self-discipline to be able to do that nowadays, because you want to be so attached to everything. You want to be so caught up with the world. The world's moving so fast that you're trying to keep up to the point where you lose yourself in the world. So you have to take that time to go to that dark place in your mind and discover who you are. As you're trying to fix yourself and dig yourself out of this deep hole that life, society, and you helped also. Those people who you saw down there in that hole, who were there with you, who are your friends and people who you counted on, because you meet the people in the same situation that you're in life. Those people become your friends. And the second you try to get out of that situation and become better, those people are in that grave, in that dungeon, just yanking at your heels, man, saying, get the back. Oh no, come on back here,
yeah.
You ain't gonna make me feel like shit by you getting out of this hole.
Who do you think you are?
So I get that all the time now. People would constantly remind me of who I used to be back in the day. And they always come out of the woodworks, man.
Did you make the people around you better, or did you be a detriment to society? Are people proud to carry your last name? Is your son going to be able to walk into a room and people are going to respect him off of your accomplishments? Or that he's going to be embarrassed, he's going to have to change his last name because of your failures? Right. Is the woman that you had, is she going to be proud and be able to sit there and actually cry real sobs of sorrow?
Yeah.
Because you passed away? Or is she going to cry tears of joy because you're a fucking loser and she's going to get a better guy?
And this is also not an excuse for a young man to put it off until his 30s.
That's true.
Because your hard work and your dedication and your grit and all that shit, that is not a guaranteed path to success. Many people have given their heart to their business and failed, flat out fucking failed. They did everything right. They went to bed, they didn't party, they studied, they did everything, and they still fucking lost. So if you're young, you might need to do that enough times. And in fact, in a lot of ways, I feel like I experienced this.
Yeah.
I banged my head against this fucking business again and again and again and again and again and again and never got what I was really looking for. Like, I had goals for 30 that I did not hit because I was not qualified to make them at 24.
Yep.
I set goals at 24 that I was not qualified to make at that time for 30. And so when I got to 30, in a lot of ways, I felt like I failed, but I kept pushing against that thing, and I finally hit that motherfucker and it cracked open. And for that reason, what if I would have started at 31? You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be sitting here at 36 at where I'm at. So it's not an excuse to put it off for the young guys, but if you are in your 30s and you haven't started yet, dude, your clock is gonna, dude, you could be a big G at 50, 55. You have plenty of runway. Get started at any time, because it's never not a good time to start. If you're trying to be comfortable, you're not gonna put yourself through the pain of studying and understanding and the pain of doing, so you don't become competent. If you don't become competent, then you have to face fear in a different way.
But listen to me carefully, because this is the part they'll never tell you. You are not broken. You are not weak by design. You were built to be dangerous. You were built for pressure. There is a part of you buried under years of lies, shame, and softness that is capable of absolute greatness. A part of you that can rise early, train relentlessly, lead with conviction, build wealth, protect, conquer, and inspire. That part of you is real. It's not a fantasy. It's been waiting, it's angry, and it's ready. The reason you feel hollow isn't because you're lazy. It's because you've been operating at 10% of your potential and your soul knows it. You were born for war, not comfort. Born to fight dragons, not fold laundry. You're miserable because you're not doing what you were meant to do. Every day you skip the gym, every task you procrastinate, every lie you tell yourself is a betrayal of the warrior inside. And that warrior doesn't go away, he just gets angrier. He rots in silence until one day he's either unleashed or buried forever. You need to understand something. Every top G you see, every man who's built a kingdom from scratch, every icon you envy, they weren't born different. They weren't handed success. They simply woke up one day and said, enough. Enough excuses, enough hiding, enough running. They made a decision, not a wish, not a plan, a real decision, one that said, I'd rather die fighting than live on my knees. And from that moment forward, they became unstoppable, not because it was easy, but because quitting was never an option again. And here's what makes it beautiful. You don't need $1 billion. You don't need a private jet. You don't need connections. You need discipline, you need focus, you need aggression, you need purpose. The playing field is more level than you think. While you cry about the system, someone else is using that same system to break out. You scroll past his life every day and think, must be nice. It's not nice. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's war. And he won because he embraced it while you avoided it. You can flip the switch right now. That's the beauty of this life. You're never stuck unless you decide to be. The past doesn't matter. The losses don't matter. The pain doesn't matter. All that matters is what you do next. You can wake up tomorrow and start becoming the man you were meant to be. Not slowly, not someday, now, with fire, with rage, with absolute hunger to become a savage of purpose. The man who doesn't wait for the world to fix him because he's too busy fixing himself. Top G mentality isn't about arrogance. It's about ownership. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, everything in my life is my fault. And that's the best fucking news ever. Because if it's your fault, then it's your power. And if you have the power, there are no limits. You're not too late, you're not too weak, you're not too far gone. You're just one real choice away from rewriting your entire destiny. I remember the moment I realized the world didn't care if I won or lost. It wasn't some movie moment, no music, no spotlight, just me broke, hungry, and angry at everything. I was sitting in a cold room eating noodles from a plastic bowl, staring at the wall and thinking, this can't be it. This can't be what life's about. There were no cheers, no guidance, no safety net, just silence. And it hit me. No one is coming to save me. That silence, that was the sound of reality. That was the sound of freedom. Because in that moment, I realized if no one's coming, then I am the only one who can rise. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I didn't grow up surrounded by yachts and Lambos. My first fight wasn't in the ring. It was with my circumstances. Poverty doesn't knock politely. It kicks your door down and dares you to get up.
That's the reward of discipline. It transforms your presence, your results, and your life. So if you've ever felt overlooked, if you've ever felt like people don't take you seriously, if you've ever felt like you're not being heard, don't raise your voice. Raise your discipline. And here's the promise. If you stay with this message till the end, if you absorb the mindset, if you take it seriously and apply it, you won't need to beg for respect ever again. You'll command it quietly, powerfully, naturally. That's what we're building. A mind so disciplined it becomes a force. One that speaks before you ever open your mouth. Ready to see how? Let's keep going. When you build a disciplined mind, the first thing you start to notice is your ability to control yourself in situations where others lose it. That's the real test. Not how loud you are when things are easy, but how calm you stay when everything around you is chaos. Self-control is the core of discipline. It's the moment you feel the urge to react, to complain, to lash out, but instead you pause, you breathe, you choose a response, not a reaction. Most people are ruled by impulse. They speak without thinking, they act without planning, and then they wonder why their life feels out of control. But when your mind is trained, you don't move like that. You slow everything down. You observe, you think, you decide. That's power. Because now you're not a puppet to your emotions. You're the one holding the strings. There's nothing soft about self-control. It's not weakness. It's strength held back by choice. It's knowing you could say something but choosing silence. It's knowing you could act on your anger but choosing peace. It's not because you're afraid, but because you've already won the fight inside. That kind of control changes how people see you. It changes how you see yourself. You no longer need to react to everything. You stop chasing validation. You stop proving points. You just become unshakable. And when people see that, they respect it, even if they don't say it out loud, because deep down, they wish they had it too. The world respects the one who stays calm when others panic, the one who keeps going when others quit, the one who speaks little but moves with purpose. That's the quiet authority of discipline. And it all begins with mastering yourself. Self-control isn't about being perfect, it's about progress. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you take a step toward becoming the person who commands respect, without ever having to ask for it. Respect doesn't come from appearances. It comes from what people sense about you. And what they sense is shaped by how you carry yourself, how you think, how you react. Discipline is what creates that energy. The more grounded your mind becomes, the more people recognize something different in you, even if they can't explain it. When your thoughts are steady, when your actions are intentional, people notice, not because you're demanding attention, but because your discipline shows up in everything you do, in how you walk, in how you speak, in what you choose to ignore. That kind of presence is rare in a world full of noise and distractions. And that's why it stands out. You don't need to tell anyone who you are. Let your discipline do that. Let your work speak. Let your habits speak. Let your patience and focus speak. The mind that is trained to stay calm, stay consistent, and stay true. It doesn't need a stage to be powerful. People respect what they can feel is real. And real discipline, real control is impossible to fake. Most people live by emotion. They say things just to be heard. They act out to get a reaction. But a disciplined mind doesn't chase attention. It doesn't move with the crowd. It creates its own standard, and that standard becomes a mirror. Others look at you and see what they're missing in themselves. That's why respect follows you, not because you asked for it, but because you became the example. When your discipline is stronger than your mood, stronger than your doubts, stronger than your distractions, you become someone others quietly admire. You become the one they look at when they're lost. Because your stillness, Your strength reminds them that control is possible, that there's another way to live, and that's the secret. When you master yourself, you no longer need to say a word. Your life does all the talking. Every day, there's a silent battle happening inside your mind. It's not always loud. It doesn't always show on the outside, but it's there. The battle between what you want now and what you want most. The struggle between comfort and growth. That's where discipline is either built or broken.
My circle's very small. I make sure I didn't handpick these people, because I'm like, so you don't want people in your corner that are like, oh, let me pat you on the back for whatever the you do. I don't want people pat me on the back because I woke up in the morning. No. So you don't want that. You want people who are honest with you, who are going to tell you what the fuck is honest. Honest and truthful people. So someone who's honest and truthful, who has lived and is accountable for their own personal life, that's who you want in your corner to say, hey man, you know what? You're pretty dumb for doing this, dude. Like, this is not smart. Or you're being a turd today. You're not getting after it. That's who you want in your corner. So you don't want a lot of people, hand-pick people to be in their corner who kiss their ass. You don't want that.
First big problem is that you have put a lot of people above you. Put no one above you. No one. I put God above me. Besides that, there's no one better than me. If you're playing Roger Federer, before you get on the court with Roger Federer, he's the best of all time, but you're also a professional tennis player, man. You're forgetting your own resume. So once you get on the court, let's say it's a grand slam. It's 5 sets, hopefully, if you can go the distance with this guy. But before you even bounce the ball to serve it, you're down 2 sets. Because why? You look across and you're playing Roger Federer. But guess what? You hit a good shot on Roger Federer in the 3rd set. And you realize, I can play with this mother. But it's too late. You gave up 2 sets before you got on the court. You got to stop giving up 2 sets before the game begins. And we do that already. We give up 2 sets before the game begins. So I learned that real quick. I saw these Navy SEALs before I became one. My God, they're better than me. Yeah, they're better than me. I gave up 100 sets. And I had to work up to realize these are human beings with the same shit I have. Yeah, there's some people who run faster, swim better, but mentality is mentality. There's no, you're not going to outwork me. So I'm going to catch up somewhere.
My next door neighbor 2 months ago, she just killed herself. Tons of veterans I know, they killed themselves. I got an email 2 weeks ago from a family member that an 11-year-old boy killed himself from people at school bullying him. One thing about life is that people in life, they are the ultimate puppet masters. They exploit your weakness and they love to walk you around life and own space in your head. One of the biggest ways to cut those strings and walk on your own 2 feet to your own destination in life is to build self-respect, self-esteem, self-discipline, all those things. Stay hard is not just about going to the gym. Stay hard is about going that extra step and you can't. That's what builds self-esteem and self-respect. Stay hard.
When I was a young kid, I considered myself very weak. Very weak. And as I started developing this indestructible mental toolbox, because what I realized was the things I was most afraid of, I cowered from. I had to start facing these things and becoming an expert at the things I feared the most. Yeah. I was afraid of my own mind. My mind would get off on these crazy places of woe is me. My internal conversation wasn't great. Yeah. So I had to start mastering it. Once I started mastering it, in the horrible place I was at, I considered myself the worst person ever alive. That was my conversation. Well, once I started mastering my own life, I started realizing, my God, man, this was in me. Yeah. I was a 300-pound fat guy. Now I'm 181 pounds, 190 pounds, whatever it was. I'm going to go through all these hell weeks. So I started realizing the capabilities of the human soul and the human mind.
Anytime you move from being normal to trying to be exceptional, people aren't going to like that. Those normal people, it makes them feel like shit, so they're going to judge you. And nowadays, it's very easy to be a coward. Why? We got Instagram and shit. Most folks don't tell you to your face. They go online. They post about like cowards. Don't let cowards get in your head. And last thing, make sure you do you. Stay hard.
I've been ignored, doubted, betrayed, laughed at. But every moment of pain gave me clarity. Every setback forged a sharper version of me. Every night I went to sleep with nothing in my pockets, I woke up with more fire in my heart. And that fire, that's what built the man you see today. I've lived it. I've lived the war in silence. I've lived the loneliness that comes when you start leveling up and nobody claps for you. When you outgrow the crowd and suddenly they start calling you arrogant for having standards. I've walked through that storm where people vanish the second you say, I'm going all in on myself. That's when the world tests you. When the distractions grow louder, when the critics show up, when your own mind whispers lies, like what if you're not enough? But I never bowed to that voice. I looked it dead in the face and said, I'll become too much for you to handle. Let me tell you something no school will ever teach you. Adversity is your greatest ally. That pain you're running from, that's the sharpening stone. That rock bottom you're scared of, that's the ground where warriors are built. The people who never struggle, never grow. The ones who are always comfortable, they stay soft, they rot. Comfort breeds entitlement, and entitlement destroys ambition. But the ones who suffer with purpose, the ones who chase the hard path, they become unstoppable. I didn't choose the hard life because I'm crazy. I chose it because I refuse to die normal, ruthlessly. I've bled for every ounce of success, not in public where it's seen, in private, behind the doors, when no one's watching, when the lights are off, when the temptations scream louder than your goals. I've said no to easy money, fake friends, fast pleasure, and all the distractions this world throws to derail you. Because I had a vision, a mission, a ruthless desire to become the kind of man who can't be ignored. I trained when I was tired. I worked when I was broke. I believed in myself when no one clapped. And now the same world that doubted me pays to hear me speak. You want to know what separates the top G from the average man? It's not muscles. It's not money. It's decision. It's that pivotal moment where you say, I'm not playing this game on my knees anymore. It's the moment you walk past the excuses, past the fear, past the self-pity, and say, let's see what happens if I go all in. That's what I did. That's the story. No fairy tale, just relentless war. And I chose to win it. And here's the part most people miss. You can write your own story. You're not trapped. You're not finished. Your current chapter doesn't define the final one. But you have to be brutally honest about where you are and obsessively focused on where you're going. If you're not willing to face the truth, you'll never escape the lie. If you're not hungry, really hungry, the world will feed you scraps and convince you it's a feast. You got to get disgusted with average. You got to become allergic to mediocrity. You got to stop waiting for permission to live like a king and start moving like one. You don't need a sob story to change. You just need rage. Controlled, focused, productive rage. Rage against who you've allowed yourself to become. Rage against the version of you that settled. That rage is sacred. That rage is the beginning of rebirth. You were not born to be invisible. You were born to dominate, to lead, to build, to inspire. But that only happens when you start acting like your life is on the line, because it is. Your story isn't over, but it will be written by either fear or fire, and only you can choose the pen. You know what's terrifying? It's not death. It's reaching the end of your life and realizing you never truly lived. It's waking up one day, gray hair, hunched back, and eyes that used to dream now dulled by regret. That's real horror. The regret of knowing you had potential, real potential, but you traded it for cheap dopamine, empty nights, and comfort zones padded with excuses. And what's worse, you knew better. You felt it burning inside you, didn't you? That whisper that said you're meant for more, and yet you ignored it, buried it, smothered it under distractions. That's the slow death most men walk into. Fully conscious, fully capable, but fully asleep. Let me say this clear so it echoes in your soul. Time is not infinite. Every second that passes is a second you never get back. You think you have time, you don't. You've just been lucky so far. That's it. You've been blessed with another day you haven't earned. But one day that luck runs out. And if you're still stuck in the same cycle, living the same life, working the same job, thinking the same weak thoughts, you'll die as you lived. Invisible, average, forgettable. The clock doesn't care about your feelings. It's ticking whether you move or not. If you wait too long, the door closes.
The strongest people aren't the ones who never feel weak. They're the ones who feel it and still keep going. The disciplined mind isn't about never having negative thoughts. It's about not letting those thoughts control your choices. It's waking up tired and still choosing to show up. It's feeling fear and still stepping forward. That's the quiet strength that separates the average from the unstoppable. You have to learn how to say no to your impulses, to distractions, to excuses. Every no you say to the easy path is a yes to the person you're becoming. And that version of you, the one who's consistent, focused, and unshakable, is built through these internal battles. You win them in silence, long before anyone sees the results. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. When the world pulls you in 100 directions, a disciplined mind stays focused on the mission. It knows what matters. It doesn't get caught in drama. It doesn't waste time proving itself. It moves with clarity, even when the path is hard. Most people let their mind run wild. They let every emotion turn into an action. But you can train your mind like a muscle. You can teach it to pause, to reflect, to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. That's the difference between being reactive and being powerful. And power isn't loud. Real power is calm. Real power is choice. When you master the inner battle, the outer world starts to change. Because people feel your energy, they see your consistency, and they can't help but respect the kind of discipline that doesn't need to shout to be seen. The most dangerous version of you is the one who stays disciplined when no one's watching. Not for praise, not for likes, not for applause, but because you've decided who you are and you refuse to be anything less. That's where real power comes from. Quiet decisions, made in private, repeated daily, until they shape a mind that's untouchable. You can't fake that kind of strength. It shows in your habits. It shows in your ability to delay gratification. In a world addicted to shortcuts and instant results, discipline makes you different. While others chase the quick win, you build something lasting. While others seek attention, you build character. And character is what people respect, even when they can't explain why. It starts with the little things. The choice to stay consistent when you feel tired. The decision to stay focused when your mind wants to wander. These small moments matter, because every time you do what you said you would, especially when it's hard, you earn trust with yourself. That self-trust becomes your foundation. It becomes the reason you don't need to force confidence. You simply carry it. People feel that. They sense when someone has done the hard work inside. There's no need to talk about it. It's in your discipline, in your stillness, in your calm focus when others panic. That kind of presence is magnetic. Not because it's loud, but because it's real. And once you've developed that kind of discipline, you stop trying to impress people. You stop needing permission. You know who you are. You know what you're building. And that quiet certainty speaks louder than any words ever could. This is how respect is earned. Not through noise, not through force, but through unwavering discipline that others can see without you ever needing to say a thing. A disciplined mind doesn't chase emotions, it leads them. It doesn't wait to feel motivated. It doesn't depend on the right mood. It simply does what needs to be done, whether it feels good or not. That's the difference between those who wish and those who win.